What if the ceiling you keep hitting isn't built by circumstance, but by a belief you've never questioned? Not a loud belief, not an obvious one, a quiet one, so familiar it feels like truth. Most people don't struggle because they lack discipline or intelligence. They struggle because they've learned to protect an old identity instead of building a new one. And the brain, loyal as it is, keeps reinforcing what it thinks will keep you safe. This is not a story about doing more. It's a story about seeing differently. Because when your perspective changes, behavior follows. Not through force, through alignment. The habits that truly reprogram the brain don't look dramatic. They don't announce themselves, they work beneath the surface, shaping how you interpret the world, how you respond to pressure, and how you define success. These habits are not about optimization. They are about leadership, starting with the leadership of your own mind. Habit 1: the discipline of the pause. Most people believe their reactions are logical. They believe they're responding to what's happening. But more often than not, they're responding to what once happened. The pause is the moment you stop confusing the two. We live in a culture that rewards speed, quick replies, instant opinions, immediate reactions. Speed feels competent, decisive, strong, but leadership is not speed, leadership is clarity, and clarity requires space. The brain is constantly scanning for threat, not danger in the physical sense, but threat to identity, belonging, or certainty. A tone in a message, a look in a meeting, a delay in response. Before you're even aware of it, your nervous system has already decided what it means. And once meaning is assigned, behavior follows automatically. The pause interrupts that chain. It's not hesitation, it's awareness. Think of a moment when you reacted quickly and later thought, that wasn't really about them. That realization only came after distance. The pause creates that distance in real time. At first, it feels uncomfortable. Because your brain is used to control through reaction. Pausing feels like surrender. But it's the opposite. When you pause, you reclaim authorship. You ask yourself, what story am I telling myself right now? And more importantly, is it true, or is it familiar? Familiar stories feel convincing because they've been rehearsed. They've been repeated under stress. They've been rewarded with short-term relief. If you've learned that reacting quickly protects you from being misunderstood, ignored, or taken advantage of, your brain will defend that reaction fiercely. Even when it no longer serves you. The pause is how you teach the brain a new lesson. That not every signal is a threat. That calm does not mean weakness. That response is more powerful than reaction. Leaders who earn trust are not the loudest in the room. They're the ones who listen long enough to understand what's really happening. They don't rush to prove they're right. They seek to get it right. Over time, something remarkable happens. The brain begins to associate calm with safety. It stops flooding the body with urgency at every uncertainty. You become someone who can hold tension without being controlled by it. And that is leadership. Not control over others, control over impulse. The pause doesn't change one moment. It changes your identity. You stop being someone who reacts to life. You become someone who responds to it. Habit 2. Replacing intensity with consistency. Most people wait to feel ready. They wait for motivation, for confidence, for the right mood. But the brain doesn't change through intensity. It changes through repetition. Intensity excites the brain. Consistency rewires it. This is where many people get trapped. They have moments of inspiration. Moments where everything feels clear. They make big promises to themselves. And when the feeling fades, they interpret that as failure. But the brain never asked for intensity. It asked for reliability. Think about trust. You don't trust someone because of one grand gesture. You trust them because they do what they say they'll do over time. The brain works the same way with identity. Every small action you repeat sends a message. I can rely on myself. Or, I say things I don't follow through on. Neither message is loud. But both are cumulative. Consistency feels boring to the ego. There's no dramatic transformation, no instant reward. But to the brain, consistency is proof. Proof that this behavior is safe to adopt as default. This is why long-term thinkers don't chase breakthroughs. They build rhythms. They understand that who you become is shaped less by what you do occasionally, and more by what you do predictably. There's a quiet confidence that comes from keeping small promises. Waking up when you said you would. Having the difficult conversation without making it dramatic. Doing the work even when no one notices. These moments don't feel heroic. They feel ordinary. And that's exactly why they work. The brain stops negotiating. It no longer asks, should I? It assumes this is what we do. Consistency removes friction from decision making. And with less friction, energy becomes available for higher level thinking. This is how leaders scale impact, not by pushing harder, but by making the right behaviors automatic. When consistency becomes identity, discipline becomes unnecessary. You don't need to motivate yourself to be who you already believe you are. And slowly, almost imperceptibly, your self-trust grows, not because you feel confident, but because you have evidence. Habit 3. Choosing meaning over mood. Mood is temporary, meaning is durable. Yet many people allow mood to dictate behavior. When they feel inspired, they act. When they feel uncertain, they wait. The brain prefers this arrangement because it avoids discomfort. But growth has never been comfortable. Meaning changes how the brain interprets effort. Effort without meaning feels like sacrifice. Effort with meaning feels like contribution. This distinction matters more than motivation. Think of a time when you did something difficult without complaint. Not because it was enjoyable, but because it mattered. The fatigue was still there, the uncertainty was still there, but it didn't stop you. That's meaning at work. The brain releases resilience when it understands the why. Not happiness, not excitement, purpose. This is why organizations with strong cultures outperform those with better incentives. People will endure hardship when they believe it counts for something. The same is true internally. When your actions are connected to a deeper reason, mood loses authority. You stop asking, "Do I feel like it?" You start asking, "Does this align with who I want to be?" That question reframes effort. You're no longer chasing outcomes. You're honoring values. Values outlast moods. Meaning creates stability in uncertainty. When the path isn't clear, meaning becomes the compass. And the brain once again adapts. Stress becomes a signal of importance, not danger. Discomfort becomes a sign of alignment, not failure. This is the emotional maturity most people never develop. They confuse feeling good with doing well. But leadership, real leadership, often feels quiet. It feels like choosing the harder right over the easier wrong. Like staying consistent when no one is watching. Like trusting the long game. And then comes the realization. You were never lacking discipline. You were lacking clarity. You didn't need more pressure. You needed a better reason. Reprogramming the brain is not about fighting yourself. It's about understanding yourself. Understanding that your reactions were learned. Your habits were conditioned. Your limits were inherited, not fixed. And anything learned can be relearned. Slowly, calmly, deliberately. Every pause teaches safety. Every consistent action builds trust. Every meaningful choice strengthens resilience. This is how change actually happens, not in moments of intensity, but in patterns of intention. So ask yourself, not loudly, not dramatically, but honestly, what belief am I still protecting that no longer protects me? And what would change if I let it go? You don't need to rush the answer. Leadership never rushes. It listens. It reflects. And then it moves forward with purpose.